Welcome to my platform. Today I'm out with my mother. Say something, Mom.
Hi, how are you doing?
So this is my beautiful mom over here. Mama, look up.
Oh, you're like a monkey.
No, you're not a monkey. We're not going to start there.
Uh,
You're not a monkey. You're beautiful inside and out. So me and my mom was talking about the difference when she was growing up and when I was growing up and now, as far as culture, as far as how we was sitting here at Brahms. We're here at Brahms, so we was snacking and eating. And don't remind me to get your ice cream before we leave. But anyway, we was sitting here and we was just, sitting here eating and watching things and kind of observing a lot of things. And I mentioned to my mom, I say, when we was growing up, it was just like different cultures did not click together at all whatsoever. Mainly when I was growing up in a neighborhood, you stayed in your neighborhood, you stayed with your own culture. You did not go outside of the culture because of the upbringing and segregation and different things I heard as growing up as a child. But my mom was actually living, in segregation, as far as going to school. Let you tell it, Mama. As far as going to school, you didn't go with all different kind of races, right? Or cultures. Wasn't the school segregated when you was growing up?
yeah.
So tell us a little bit about how the segregation, the schools. Can you remember? My mom is almost 80, so.
Yeah, I'm not really remembering too good anymore. But I can remember some things now that
What can you remember?
well, it wasn't a whole lot I can remember right now.
About the school segregations or just
yeah.
anything segregating,
Yes, schools was like that, and we had, like the high schools and the elementaries and stuff like that going there, and I really can't say a whole lot about a lot of the schools back then. Because it was so different.
It was different because the blacks had to stay with the blacks and the white had to stay with the whites.
No.
It wasn't like that? With
We had black and white going together.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. We had elementaries, black, and then and some mixtures of not too many whites then in certain areas, but it was a few, but not a whole lot.
A few that went to
Different areas.
high school with
Right.
you?
And some was I really can't say how to put this, but it was more. They're stopping up. It was more. It was just different race of people and back then. I think not a whole lot of blacks and not a whole lot of whites mixed up together. You know what I mean?
Oh, so they really weren't mixed up with you.
Right, I guess you could say that.
Okay, so that falls back on they was on their side of the tracks and y'all was on y'all side of the tracks.
Yeah, you could say that.
Mm-hmm. So it was like y'all couldn't go over, they couldn't come over there because of the black and white issues, growing up, In other words, you couldn't cling to their side without having some type of issue, and they couldn't come over on your side of the tracks, because I remember you saying to me when you was telling your story back then, is that most of them had to stay on their side and you had to stay on your side, and y'all had different schools. You really didn't cling together or come together as one back then. I think that was in maybe the 50s, early 50s or something like that. So back then I can imagine how it was, growing up as a black child. Back then a lot of races was going on. I know they had different fountains. The blacks would drink out of did y'all have a fountain? I know the white people, well, they had a black fountain and a white fountain. So it was so much segregation back then, to where I look at it as, now I'm finna fast forward, in the 60s when I was born, and in the 70s when I was growing up, that we lived in a certain area where yeah, it was black and whites and different cultures going to school with me. I saw that, but it was like you cling to your nationality, and it was just like they call it today cliques. So back then I would cling to my nationality or my culture. Then they would cling to their culture and nationality. So it was just, the blacks would cling to the blacks, the white would cling to the whites, and the Mexicans would cling to theirs, and Asians, and so on and so forth. But today, it's not like that, because I'm so glad that they broke out of that. Yeah, it still exists in some areas, in some countries and cities, but it's not as bad as it was when I was growing up and my mom was growing up. But today, culture and society, they clings together. They don't look at black, white, purple, blue, green, Asian like we looked at it back then, back in the 50s and 60s and 70s. They don't look at it like that now, because what I see today is that everybody comes together. They don't look at race. They don't look at the color of your skin. They all just connect together, and I think that is awesome, because of the raising that they was brought up with. Don't look at that. You look at the person. But in my culture and the time that I was raised and was bringing up, we didn't look at it, but it was there. It exists. We heard about a lot of things when my parents was growing up. We heard about the horror stories, the things that they had to go through, and their mothers and grandmothers and all of that. So it kind of stuck to us, when I say us, the 60 kids, the 70 kids growing up. Well, we didn't want to, really get involved, really get to know them, But I did have some Caucasian friends that I would speak to, but it wasn't like a clingy type of friendship. It was just like, hey, I'll see you in school, how you doing, and keep going. But we were sitting here at Brahms and watching these young kids going by, and it was just a whole slew of them, different cultures, naturality, nationality, or they was all clinging together and coming together as one, and they was just having a good time. Everybody talking. It was just a group of them, and we was looking at how amazing it is, how time have changed, and we're all coming together. Now, for the older part, when I say older, people like me and my mom and on down, some of us haven't really let that go because it's in the media. It's in the news media how not too long ago, how they have reacted by somebody knocking on your door and trying to do some kind of fundraiser, and because the color of your skin, you just don't ask no questions. You just begin to shoot and kill somebody because of the color of their skin, the upraising that that they was up under, the prejudice of how someone would just kill someone and really don't get to know them just because the color of their skin. They hate them only because the color of their skin, which I look at that now is stupidity. People weren't as knowledgeable as they are now, because so much hate was instilled inside of both generations, both races and both cultures, especially black and white. The upbringing back then, way back then, 30, 40, 20s, 60s, it was just so much hatred. And some people don't know how to let that go and deal with the changes that the world is changing and evolving and evolving, the changes. And when you're not ready to change, Mama say, yeah, she agree with that. When you're not ready to change, then that upbringing will stay in you. That hatred will stay with you until you die if you're not willing to let go and accept the new culture, the new society, the new generation, how they look up on things, how they click together and really enjoy life. So if we don't let a lot of things go, we can't enjoy ourselves. We'll die with hatred in us. We'll die with things in us that we should have let go a long time ago. That's right, Mama. And it doesn't have to be with any race. It can be issues that you have been clinging and holding on to for so long in your life. And when you get to a certain age or point, you need to re-examine that and say, hey, is it worth it? Is it worth me continue to carry these things inside my spirit and contaminate my spirit, making me unhappy, pulling my spirit down? It's causing all kind of chaos. It's causing all kind of health problems. Is this really worth it, just clinging and hanging on to whatever you're dealing with? That's right, Mama. And I was having a conversation with someone on the other day, and I asked this person a question. I say, you know what? Sometimes we can be the best people we think in the world, but when we have a conversation with somebody else, then the light bulb pop on and we realize that we wasn't the best person in the world. We didn't make a lot of decisions, wise decisions as being parents. We didn't make a lot of wise decisions as far as business or whatever it is. including our health. But once we examine, Mama, I'll get you some ice cream in a minute.
No, I was just thinking about it. We was talking about the ice cream, and he pulled up with some.
He pulled up with his ice cream, but I promise you I get some when I get out. So we look at things that we did 20 or 30 years ago, and we still have it in our heart instead of releasing it and letting it go, because things are not worth it when it comes down to your health or when it comes down to your family. So I asked this person a very personal question, and this person began to examine themselves on a lot of things and did not realize it until it was called out. And so sometimes we're not aware of the things that we do, because if somebody keeps sweeping it on the rug and not calling it out as it is, we begin to continue to do the same thing. But once someone calls it out and you have examined yourself in the situation, then it's time for change.
Bring attention to some things, be thinking about it. A lot of times you have things on your mind, but you don't actually be thinking about what's really going on,
Yeah, that's true. So we, like Mom said, we really don't think about things, bring it to our attention, and we don't realize what's really going on until it hits us, into reality, hits us in the face. And then if we don't accept the change, then that means pretty much we don't want to change. But when we accept the change, when reality hit us in the face, then we're ready to change. Some of us, not all of us. But those who are ready to change, they begin to put in an action plan. That means they begin to prep themselves and begin to think about what are some ways that I can change, or what are some ways that I can reach out to someone that will help me, because I don't know, I've been in this rut for so long. I've been having this bad attitude or this bad behavior for so long, and I just don't know where to start, and I just don't know how to change. But when you connect to someone that can help you and give you the tools to change, if you're willing to change. So the mindset, I was talking to a young man today in class, and I said, it's the mindset. You have to be willing at first. It comes from the heart. It comes right here from the heart. And if you're not willing to open up your heart for change, then it cannot happen, because it comes from the heart first. You start at the heart, and then the heart will open up if you're willing. Then it will move on to the mind, to where it begins to take action. The action plan begins to set in, because you're ready. And you're ready when the heart changes. The heart has to change first, then the mindset is second, then the action plan is third. When you begin to move on it, when you begin to act on it, and things begin to change, is the fourth thing. When you see things begin to change for the positive in your life instead of the negative, because we're so used to living in the negative. Not all of us, but most of us, due to our upbringing and just due to things that we don't know, we don't have common sense of knowing that, hey, this is wrong. We realize that our upbringing was wrong, and we need to correct that. We need to change that. So I was talking to the guy in the class, and I say, it's all about the mindset, because when the heart is open up and the heart is ready to receive new things that the heart have never experienced and never seen before. So when we allow the heart to open up to receive new things and new avenues, new adventures in our life, then we're willing to move forward. And that's when we begin to think about an action plan.
Right.
So he was like, I haven't never looked at it like that. I never thought of like that before. And he thanked me about sharing it with him. I said, yeah, because I can remember when I was a teenager how I had a mindset was just, going out doing my thing, partying, just doing what Vicky wants to do, and never thinking about, this age now that I was going to get older. And what was I going to do? Because, will I continue to party all my life? Will I continue not to have an education? Will I continue to not make wise decisions? So there were some things that I had to do in order to change, because when I got into my 20s and I thought about my lifestyle, and I'm like, I don't want to do this the rest of my life. I need a change. So I decided I had a choice, either to continue to live the way I was living or continue to make that change. So I decided to make that change in my life. I decided to get a good education. I decided to, start making wise decisions. I decided to, remove all the negative people, the negative influences out of my life. The ones that wanted to party all the time, the ones that wanted to drink, to smoke, and do the bad things and the bad habits. So I began to make new friends who was positive, had a positive influence in my life. So in other words, I had to put in the work. And I didn't want that lifestyle. I didn't want to hang around people who wasn't going nowhere or doing anything. Hello?
Moves in their lives. They weren't even thinking about making any moves in their lives.
Yeah.
Doing different things and thinking of things that they should be doing or whatever,
Right. So it wasn't anything positive that was coming out of that. So I had to make a decision. Do I really want to have this lifestyle or hang around people that are not going anywhere, as my mom said, and they don't want to change? Right. So I had to make sure that I eliminated the people that didn't want anything and didn't want to make a change in their life. I look at some of them today, and I still see them 20 and 30 years ago when we were much, much younger. They still doing the same thing. So some people don't want to change. And then when they look at you and you moving on, you're doing the work. You don't put in the work. And when they look at you, because the way you have changed your lifestyle, you don't drink, you don't talk, you don't curse, you don't smoke, it's certain habits that you gave up, and it's certain things that you bring into your life that will bring you joy, bring you fulfillment. Then they look at that, they'll take that, and then they'll twist it on you. Okay, I see that you're driving this. I see that you're living in this. I see that you're in a different neighborhood now. You're not from so-and-so, you're back over there, or you over here now, you're up there. And they will judge you because you have did the work, you have put in the work, and you decided to change. Why they did not decide to change. They was comfortable in their position and in their settings, why you was not comfortable. You were like fringy and wanted to get out and wanted to do better. Now that they look at you, since you have done better, now they have a problem with you, and they could have did the same thing.
Right.
better. They had the same choices, but they decided and choose to stay right there. But now they judging you because you done moved forward and you done moved on. Isn't that right, Mama? One thing I love about my parents, both of them, my dad is gone and deceased, but one thing I loved about them, they always pushed us forward. They always told us to go out there and thrive, not scribe, not survive, but thrive to be the very best version of us. Because some people are surviving. Well, I'm that person that it was instilled in me not to just survive, but thrive. Thrive at everything that you do. Get around. If you can't do it, get around people that are going somewhere and doing something. So that was instilled in me since I was a little girl, and they look at me now and said, you got it going on, but you just don't know my story. And my mom here, right here in this car, to witness that I wasn't the smartest person in the world, okay? I had struggles in school. I had struggles in school to where my other siblings was thriving. They was going on. So I had to be placed in special education in order to deal with a lot of things in school, because some things I just didn't understand, and I was used to asking a lot of questions. They said I talked too much, I ran my mouth. So back in the days when I was going to school, they had like 25 to 30 students in class, so they didn't have time for me to keep raising up my hand and I'm trying to get the understanding that I needed to get.
Right.
So they didn't have time for Vicky questions and keep raising your hand, because they had a certain time to get through with their class. They didn't like a lot of interruptions. So we're going to get rid of Vicky. We're going to throw her in special education. And when they did that, I knew that wasn't my place. In my mind, I already knew that wasn't my place. I didn't belong there. And I was figuring out a way to get out of there, because I didn't even belong in there. Now, for those who need that, and you know that you need it, that's fine. Look at me. I went through the process. I had to go through the process because I was a minor. So, excuse me, back in the days, I knew I didn't belong there, but back in the days, like I said, it was a lot of people, a lot of students in the room, and they didn't have time for me, doing that. But I went through it. And I survived it. And back in my mind, my mind was started telling me, okay, you don't went to special education, so you're dumb, you can't do it. And I knew that I could do it, and I did it. But if I would have listened to the negativity that was up here because of the experience that I had going through special education, I wouldn't be where I am today. I'm a business owner, I'm a businesswoman, I'm an entrepreneur, I'm a go-getter, I'm bright, I'm intelligent, and I know where I'm going, and I know who I am and whose I am. See, those are the things that you need to convince yourself, not nobody else. And I have the track records. I have a lot of track records of helping someone, and I'm not bragging, because sometimes when you go through things that I have went through, it pushes you on out there. It pushes you on out there.
Right.
And I have degrees, so I know who I am, and all of those things doesn't make me. It's who you know, and you know who you are inside that makes you, and it brings out the best of you, of me.
Yeah.
It brought out the best. So I didn't let that stagnate me. When I had to go through special education, you know, that's when back then they used to segregate the students. The special ed had their own little classroom, and everybody knew that was special ed. That was the slow ones. Everybody knew that. And they did not try to hide it. You know, people, other students would pass by, looking there and laugh and everything. So I knew I didn't fit in because I wasn't who they say I was. I knew who I was way back then. But I just didn't have my own voice because I was a minor. I was a kid.
Right.
So I just wanted to, I guess, share some things and bring hope, shed hope to those who might be struggling with anything. Don't let it stop you. Don't let that stop you. It's worth the battle. It's worth the fight. Not fight with these, but fight with this. Fight with prayer. Fight to uplift yourself. Fight to begin to speak things as not as though they were. Begin to start acting it out. Back in the days, the preachers used to say, fake it until you make it. Well, if you have to fake it until you make it, begin to write affirmations out, and put them on the wall. I used to have them on the wall, in the refrigerator, going in the door, going out the door, all in my car, because I knew who I was, and I knew that I had to get somewhere. I knew that I had to get to a place where
you wanted to be.
I wanted to be, but I wanted to be fulfilled inside. I wanted to be happy. I wanted to be knowledgeable. I wanted to be satisfied with me, myself, because when you're struggling with battles in your head and in your mind, it's a tough thing until you start pulling those battles out and writing it down on paper. And each battles that you face with fear, it makes you move forward more. And you start marking things off, because I can do all things through Christ who give me the strength. And I know that God is on my side because I'm his child. So I began to mark things out off the list. And the more that I marked things off the list, the more I became bolder. And I encouraged myself. Sometimes you need to encourage yourself. You need to encourage yourself. Don't let nobody encourage you. You encourage yourself. Don't wait on nobody to tell you what you are valuable. Okay? Don't wait on that. You begin to act it out.
Right.
Speak life into yourself. Because you already know who you are. You already know your talents and gifts. God have already spoken to you. You just need to act on it. And don't be afraid, because he is with you. He done already told us he is with us. What else more do we need? We don't need no confirmation. The only confirmation is what God have told us. But God will send people back around to say the same thing that he have already told you, to confirm, to go forward, and to move forward. So any last words, Mom?
No.
No? Well, all right, so I'm going to grab her ice cream, and we're going to make it a great day. So you guys make it a great day, okay? Live life. Now this is my quote. If you're gonna quote that, you make sure you put my name on there, Vicki Brown Johnson. Live life. A life will live you. Live life, or life will live you. All right, have a good one. Bye-bye.
All right.